If I would have known these 5 things when I first got into the audiovisual industry, it would have allowed me to go further faster and make a lot more money than I did in the beginning. What's going on, guys? I'm Caleb from CTSolutions AV, and today I'm speaking to the AV professionals, the ones that are new to the industry or the younger crowd. Maybe you're not so young, but you're just getting into the industry for the first time. I'm going to give you the 5 things that you need to know before you get into the industry, or maybe you just started, so that way you can set yourself up for success, work smarter, not harder, and not have to be 50 years old pushing heavy ass equipment out of a truck.
Oh, I'm hurt. Oh, my neck, my back, my neck and my back. Oh, I want 150,000.
So let's get into it. Okay, so the very first thing that you want to be aware of is the industry standard rates for your area and understanding the half day and the full day pay rate. When I first got into the industry, I was super green and I had no clue how you went about payment. So I was getting paid a $25 an hour rate when I first started with a certain company. And if I would go in and I would do a setup and the setup took an hour and a half, I'd bill him for an hour and a half at $25 an hour. I wasn't aware that there was a 5-hour minimum for any job that I was stepping on, regardless of the position, regardless of the what I was doing. I was getting paid for a minimum of 5 hours. And that is something that you need to make sure that you're having as a standard, is that you're getting paid a half day rate, which is 5 hours, or a full day rate, which is 10 hours. Now, as you start to increase your skill set, you'll be able to, it depends, because in the freelance world, when you're working with different companies and different organizations, some might have stipulations where they'll set the rate for you and you decide if you want to work it. Other places, you set your rate and you invoice them. So you just want to make sure that wherever you are, you're understanding of the rate that you're going to be paid, and you understand what you should be charging for. All right, the second thing that is crucial, in my opinion, aside from getting paid, which is obviously very important, this has to do with mindset. You should not go into any job thinking that you're just working a job. And this is why I say that, because every single job that you work as an AV technician, whether you're setting up, whether you're an audio technician, whether you're a video technician, no matter what job you're coming into and no matter what position that you're working, understand that it is an opportunity for you to develop your skill set. Whether that means that you're developing your skill set and understanding how you set up a particular type of equipment, or a particular audio setup, a particular video setup, whatever the case is, you always want to be taking the opportunity to develop your skill set. You should be asking questions. You should be getting more knowledgeable on the things that you're working on and learning from people who know more than you. That is essential. You also want to make sure that you're networking. And what I mean by networking is building those connections, building rapport with people as you're navigating through your job, whether it's on the client side, whether it's with the people that you're working with. You always want to make sure that you're building those connections, that you're building that rapport, that people are becoming familiar with your face, with the work that you do, and with the person that you are, because that's going to take you so far later down the line. And I learned this from someone that I was working with who is a camera operator, and we did a show together, and he told me, I used to always ask him, I'm like, man, I really respect and admire the fact that you go out of your way to network. He would talk to the people, the attendees, the client. He would talk to people that were a part of the event that were not directly being serviced by AV. He would talk to them. He would get to know what it is that they're there for the event, what it is, is in their heads. What are they doing? What are the things that they're having issues with that he can potentially solve, right? And he wasn't super direct in the way that he went about it. He was just having conversation, getting to know people. And when that opportunity arose, then he would, make that networking connection. But I always admired that about him. And one thing that he told me is that you have to understand that you're put in that room for a reason, right? And it's not just to work the show. Obviously, without you, the show isn't going to be able to go on, but you're there for a reason, and you're there to help someone with a problem that is in that room. And you shouldn't count the success of the show based on you finishing the show. That was one thing that he taught me that really stuck with me. In my eyes now, a successful show is me completing the show, me delivering the expectations of the clients in the most positive way possible, and then also developing some type of network that I can use in the future to get myself further along the path of where I want to be. The third thing that you want to instill within yourself, and this will take you so much further than you think, and I've experienced this firsthand on so many different occasions that it's not even funny. In the audiovisual industry, there is a idea of the type of attire that you wear, how you show up, how you do certain things, and it's very cut and dry, right? You come in all black, polo, you're kind of unseen and unheard. No, you want to elevate this. And I attribute this to the audiovisual company that I worked with when I first got into it, because they required us to wear suits when we were teching our shows. We had to wear suits, and that just kind of carried over into a lot of the things that I did when I would work on other shows. Is I was so used to wearing a suit that I would always come in with either a button up and a tie, or I would come in looking very professional, and I would keep myself very kept when it came to my presentation. You don't understand how far presentation will go in this industry, because everyone is so used to just wearing the regular black, whether it's a t-shirt, jeans, pants, Dickies, and just some work shoes and things like that. When you come in with a button up and a tie and some slacks and some dress shoes, or even some nice black working shoes that still look, kind of dressy, man, people are going to naturally look towards you, and you're going to naturally capture people's attention, because the average person isn't doing that, right? And you want to be able to go above that standard, especially when you're working on a job for the first time, because that first impression is everything. There are companies that I'm still working with, that I still have a working relationship with, that was built off of my first impression. And it was all because I did a great job on that first impression. First impressions are so key, and it'll take you so much further down the line. So you want to make sure that you are having that presentation. You want to make sure that you're carrying yourself well. You want to make sure that you're professional. You're looking people in the eye. You're speaking. A lot of the things that people say, the standard things that people will probably say across all industries, but it's so true. And especially in the audiovisual industry, there's not a high standard of your presentation. And I don't say that in a bad way, because the standard of presentation in the audiovisual industry is still a good standard, right? You're coming in all black, polo, pants, things like that. But when you take it that step above and you come in looking sharp, you come in looking clean, you come in suited up, I'm telling you, people will take notice, and people will even assume that you're in higher positions than you actually are. You'll have people on the client side that are assuming that you're in higher positions than you are, and that's opening up more opportunities for networking. That's opening up more opportunities for you to get your foot in the door in a different avenue. So that is, presentation and how you carry yourself on the job will precede you, and it will definitely carry you a lot further than you think it will. So don't neglect your presentation. And I know a lot of people are like, yo, I'm not about to wear this super expensive suit, or I'm not about to wear these $100 pants, and I'm tearing down equipment, I'm setting up equipment, I'm about to rip this, do that, do this. Look, I get it. On those types of on those types of days where I'm setting up equipment, I'm tearing down equipment, then I'll just come in regular polo, some nice working pants, some nice working shoes, and then I'll tuck in my polo. But on those days where you're a technician, where you're actually servicing the show, I promise you, if you come in looking nice and clean, presentable, clean cut, nice button up tie, blazer, sports coat, whatever the case is, people will notice, people will recognize, and they will see you in a different light. And that'll give you that opportunity to kind of elevate and position yourself differently to where you're not just seen as, oh, the AV guy. So super important. The fourth thing that I want to talk about, and this is something that I wish I would have learned a lot sooner, is to always be learning. And sometimes in the audiovisual industry, you can get comfortable in doing what you've always done, and you can kind of just be in that space and do those things because the money's consistent, the jobs are easy, there's not too much that you have to deal with. But you always want to be learning, and you always want to get out of your comfort zone from time to time. The first year and a half that I worked in the audiovisual industry, I worked with one company. And the type of jobs and the type of conferences and things that company did were, they were simple. They were pretty simple in the grand scheme of things. And what that did for me was it made me confident in running those types of events from top to bottom. But it also stunted my growth in a sense because I wasn't getting outside of my comfort zone. I wasn't learning different types of technology, different types of gear, new ways of doing things. And it kind of stunted my growth. So when I would find myself on these other jobs where they were using different mixers or different switchers or just different technology that I had never seen before, I felt out of my element and I didn't feel as confident in my capabilities. Now, I rose to the occasion and I would ask questions. I would try to learn from those who knew more than me. And over time, I learned a lot more. But had I had that mindset going into it, I would have been so much further ahead in what I know and how to use what I know. Because that's what's most important, is how can you use what you know on the show to make it effective for the client, right? That's what makes you useful. You want to be able to work smarter and not harder. This is a skill-based industry, right? The more you know, the more skilled you are, the higher paying jobs you're going to get, the higher paying gigs you're going to get, the more you're going to be able to leverage your communication skills, the way you're going to be able to close your own clients and start to really increase your pay that's coming in. So always be learning, always be developing your skill set, put yourself out of your comfort zone. You are going to fail, especially in the beginning. There are things that you're not going to know, and there are things that you're going to have to get over that learning curve. It's just going to be repetition. So in the beginning, if you can just work as many jobs as possible with different AV companies on different gigs and different environments, you will start to develop a confidence within yourself to know that no matter what environment you're put in, you will be able to produce and you'll be able to be effective in that environment. I've been in corporate settings, I've been in hotel ballrooms, I've been on reality TV show sets, I've been in live band performances, I've been on live podcast recordings, I've been on a lot of different sets and shoots and environments that require AV and require different approaches and different setups for those environments. So it's important that you're giving yourself that opportunity to be able to experience that diversity, so that way you're developing that confidence within yourself and you don't feel out of your element when an opportunity might come your way. And this is the last thing that you should always have in the back of your mind, no matter how long you've been in this industry. I've only been in this industry, it'll be 3 years at the end of this year. And I've learned a lot. I know I still have so much more to learn, but I've been able to position myself in a way where I'm further than I would have been had I just worked it like it were a job and just, gone with the flow and did all these different things, I was able to position myself in a way to where I learned so much about the business side of the audiovisual industry. I learned so much about the technical side. I learned so much about managing people, managing teams, running an entire show. And this was due to the fact that I understood that you're only as good as your last job. Now, there have been a lot of times where I have underestimated a job going into it, thinking that it was going to be easy, being comfortable, and then slipping up on things that I don't normally slip up on, right? So you kind of get into a space where you're comfortable. You're like, oh, I've done this show 1,000 times. I know how to do this. I know how to do that. And then you walk into it feeling super comfortable, like, oh man, I got this. Not just confident, but comfortable, right? And comfortable to the sense of where you're not staying on top of your P's and Q's like you normally do. And that's something that can bite you when it really comes down to it, because you can get comfortable and you can start to allow things to slip through the cracks that you weren't aware of. So you always want to remember that you're only as good as your last show. And that's how it's going to be when you're working with clients, right? You could have an amazing track record with a repeat client and you're knocking these shows out the park back to back to back to back. And then you have that one show where you just fumble. And when you fumble, granted, if you have that track record, they may still, give you a chance, want to work with you, this, that, and the third. But that taste, that bitter taste of that show is still going to be in their mouth when it comes to the next show that they're thinking about using you to work with. So you never want to put yourself in that position to where you get too comfortable in how you're doing your operations. And you always want to remind yourself that you're only as good as your last show. So you don't want to rest on your laurels. You don't want to rest on the great season that you had throughout this season when it was really, really busy. No, you always want to understand you're only as good as your last show, and you need to perform every single time. All right. And with that, those are the 5 things that I can say if you implement right now, if you're new to the audiovisual industry, even if you've been in it for a while, and you start to implement these things, you will see significant progress in your journey and where you're going and in how you're positioning yourself. Maybe you want to have your own audiovisual company. Maybe you want to be a technical director. Maybe you want to be in charge of a team. Maybe you want to just be a freelance worker but only work 9 months out the year. It's possible. It's all about how you position yourself, how you develop your skill set, and what you choose to do with the freedom that you're given within this industry as a freelance worker. Now, if you're more full-time, same principles apply, and you can figure out how to work that in within what you're doing for the full-time aspect. I'm just speaking from my perspective of being on the freelance side and the things that I've learned being in this industry so far. So with that, I will see you guys on the next one. It's Caleb from CTSolutions AV, and I'll catch y'all later.